What's up everybody, this is Lyle with No Hippie Barbecue. What I'm making today is going to be a pressure cooker pot roast. I did this recipe last week and it was my first time making it, so I needed to adjust a few things to make it come out the way I wanted it to come out. Basically what I want is I want my meat to be tender, but I don't want it to be shredding apart. If you like your pot roast shredding apart, add 30 minutes to everything I'm doing to this. Anyway, the last time I made this, my meat came out, I thought perfect, but my vegetables seemed like they were overcooked. So we're gonna change things up to rectify that situation. Anyway, before we get going, come on in and take a look at what we're working with. The ingredients we have, I have about 5.5 pounds of chuck roast, and I have already on one side, I have salt, and then I have this fresh ground pepper melody. I'm not gonna put the salt and pepper on the other side until we start searing this off. Our vegetables are going to include, I have some rutabagas, some parsnips, carrots, a couple bay leaves, shallots, Russian finger-length potatoes, and I have some turnips. I also am going to be using some homemade beef stock that I made in the pressure cooker. As a matter of fact, I will leave a link to that video in the iCard above and description below, and we will be searing the meat in this very hippie or organic virgin coconut oil. Anyway, so those are going to be our ingredients. Our first step is going to be to sear this meat off, so let's get to that. So to sear this meat off, the first thing I'm going to have to do is this pressure cooker, as well as most of these newer pressure cookers, have either a saute or a brown feature. So we're going to go ahead and hit that. Take our lid off. And we're going to put our oil in here. And just a couple tablespoons will work. Any kind of oil you use would be fine. If I wasn't trying to get rid of this coconut oil, I'd probably be using canola oil, to be honest with you. And once that starts sizzling, we'll go ahead and throw the meat in. It took about a minute and a half for this oil to start sizzling, so now we're going to go ahead and add our meat. This may take a couple batches, we'll see. You know what? I'm going to see if I can get both of these in here. And I think that'll work. Now, since I haven't put any seasoning on the top side of this, now we're going to go ahead and season it with our salt. And our black pepper. Now while I'm searing this off on both sides, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be cutting these vegetables, and I'm not going to be cutting them in quarters, I'm going to be leaving them in pretty large chunks. So I'll be cutting the turnips and rutabagas in half, and then the parsnips and the carrots, I'll leave those pretty large as well. The finger-length potatoes, I'm going to leave those alone, and the shallots, I'm going to actually leave those whole as well. We have this pot roast in here for about 10 minutes. Getting seared on the first side. We're going to go ahead and we're going to flip it. And this is a tight fit. And we're going to go ahead and let it brown on this side. We've let this meat sear about 10 minutes on each side. One ingredient that I didn't mention earlier is, this is something I really love. It's a product from McCormick's called Herb de Provence. Basically it has rosemary, thyme, sage, things like that in it. We're just going to go ahead and add a liberal amount to that right now. An Italian herb seasoning would be good, or if you like fresh seasoning, go ahead and add that as well. Now we're going to go ahead and add our beef broth to this, and we're just going to barely cover the meat. And that looks like it'll about do it. Go ahead and get our lid on here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pressure this up. I'm going to put it on 70 pounds of pressure. I'm going to hit stew. That's going to take us to 30 minutes. Now the mistake I made last time I did this was I went ahead and cooked this for a full hour and 10 minutes and then had our vegetables in there. Like I said, vegetables got overcooked, the meat was perfect, so I'm gonna let this go 30 minutes, release the steam, then we're gonna go ahead and add these vegetables. So we have about another minute for this to run through its first 30-minute cycle. Once it times out at 30 minutes, I'm gonna go ahead and let this depressurize on its own for about 10 to 12 minutes. Then I will go ahead and do a quick pressure release. Then we'll get these vegetables in this pressure cooker. So now that we've rapid released all of our pressure after 10 minutes, we're gonna go ahead and add our vegetables to it. And this is probably going to be a tight fit, but I think we'll make it. So that is definitely going to be a tight fit. I'm going to go ahead and throw this lid back on. We're going to go for another 30 minutes. Now, I'm not going to season this until this is done getting cooked. I just want to make sure that our flavors are balanced before I add anything now. Anyway, we'll check back on this in another 30 minutes. So after letting that go another 30 minutes with the vegetables in it, I did go ahead and rapid release that. I haven't opened this up yet. The reason I rapid released it was because I wanted to make sure that the vegetables weren't going to get overcooked, and I figured if they weren't as cooked as I wanted, I could just go ahead and put it on another 15 minutes. Let's go ahead and see what we're looking like as far as these vegetables go. All right, looks like we're good to go. Soft without being mushy. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and just set these vegetables aside, pull this meat out, and then I may just go ahead and slice it. I may just go ahead and present it first and be real hippie about it, or I may just slice it, I'm not sure. Anyway, let me finish this. Is what we look like all plated up. I'm gonna go ahead and just taste this juice by itself just to kind of see what I feel about these seasonings. I will definitely be jarring this stuff up. Okay, I was worried that I might not have had enough seasoning in there, and what I'm really concerned about is these vegetables. So I'm cutting into this rutabaga. It's not just falling apart. Got a nice little piece to it. Let's get into that. Cook through without falling apart. Let's get a carrot. Carrot's pretty soft, but it's definitely not falling apart. Let's get into this turnip. Great flavor. I love that flavor. Cooked great. Now what I'm not seeing, and I think they dissolved, was the shallots that I put in there. Let's try this potato. Perfect. Not cooked through. Or not fall apart. Now this meat, I could shred it, but it's still not just fall apart. This is awesome. Anyway, not sure if there's anything I could do about them onions, unless I was to, stop the pressure cooker again and then add them later, and it's just not worth all that. The flavor of this is awesome. Pretty basic ingredients. Anyway, if you have a pressure cooker, you gotta give this one a shot if you haven't already. Anyway, thanks for stopping by No Hippie Barbecue. I appreciate it. Comment, subscribe, and I'm out.